The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
And welcome to Autism Live. As you can see, we've got a full house here this morning.
The trifecta.
The trifecta. We are having a special edition of Autism Live this morning, and so we have extra. Our wonderful Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson is here with us this morning. She's the Executive Director of Autism Care and Treatment today.
And I spent the day with you yesterday.
Yes.
It was great.
And we also have Dr. Doreen Grampichet here with us for Ask Dr. Doreen. So thrilled to have you here.
It's a pleasure. This is going to be fun. I haven't had a show with the two of you in a while.
It gets wild. Fasten your seatbelt because it gets a little woolly. And so normally on Wednesday mornings, we separate these two ladies for separate hours, but we're doing a bit of a pledge-a-thon for our Autism Act of Love Challenge.
Yes.
This is a really fun challenge.
Such a fun challenge, and we kind of launched it big time yesterday.
Yes.
And I just once again want to say that ACT Today is so grateful to you two. First of all, to our founder, Dr. Doreen Grampichet, and our president at ACT Today.
It was a lot of fun. Please don't thank me. I hope it does go viral.
Well, you have really been a guiding force behind this, as has Shannon, and we are hoping it takes off. We're having a lot of fun doing it.
Yes.
And we're reminding people of what these funds go to and what this awareness goes to, which is our mission, which I spoke about yesterday, that Dr. Grampichet and a couple of very concerned CARD parents realized how hard it is to access the proper care and treatment for their children. So they founded ACT Today 9 years ago, and I came on shortly after that with this wonderful group of people. And we have done so much for families that cannot access or afford treatment. And yesterday we talked a little bit about some of our military families that have benefited. We're going to give you more information about what your money goes to, even raising awareness. It's so important that you do the Acts of Love Challenge. So Shannon's going to give you details on that.
Yes. So the first thing we want you to know is that it is a 3-marker challenge. I know there was a lot of press earlier this year about the ALS challenge, which we all participated in. It was wonderful. This one does not involve any ice, any water, any cold or
You don't even have to get wet?
You don't have to get wet. So it involves 3 markers of different colors. You have to have a piece of paper, and you can have a blindfold if you want to, or you can just close your eyes. We're asking you to take an act of love by drawing something that you love in honor of someone that you care about on the autism spectrum. That's a really important part of it for me, that as I'm watching all these videos, you know, we have hundreds upon hundreds of these videos now, as an individual stands there and says, I'm doing this act of love in honor of Chris or Becky or Smithson.
Awesome. Yeah.
You feel like this well of emotion about that's a person.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time about 1 in 68, but to hear the names, I don't know, it's just really resonating with me. So make sure that you say a person's name, only first names. We're asking for only first names. You draw something. It's really very fun.
So it could be anything you love.
Anything. I drew Bono. You drew your family.
I tried to draw my family.
It was lovely.
Pretty interesting.
And then we want you to challenge at least 3 other people so that the challenge continues. And we encourage you to make a donation of any size to helpforautism.org. And when you do that, helpforautism.org, it goes to Autism Care and Treatment Today.
Yes, it does. And there's so many things that we fund. You know, it's not just ABA therapy that we fund. We fund assisted communication.
Absolutely
As
right.
Doreen knows, we fund hundreds of iPads.
Safety equipment.
Fencing, you know, so many of our children that elope.
Right,
yes.
right.
Social
Sports
skills
camps,
classes, sports camps, the Miracle Miracle Project, which yesterday, Doreen, we had Atticus Baldwin and Dominique Brown here.
Right.
And
That's
you
so
just
wonderful.
to see, Dominique was an Act Today grant recipient, and these two ladies saw Dominique open our gala fundraiser, Denim and Diamonds, with a song he wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, these children are...
Atticus is such a personality.
Oh,
I
my
have
goodness.
to say, like,
Yeah.
honestly, he belongs to that family.
He
certainly
does.
does.
He's
He
such
does.
an actor,
He does.
personality.
But these kids might
character.
never have the opportunity to
Yes.
find their strengths if not from these grants from Act
Absolutely,
Today.
right.
So that's why it's so important. And then yesterday we talked a lot about some of our military children who really don't get the recommended amount of ABA therapy as it stands right now. And we can help pay for copays. We paid for hundreds of copays.
There's a lot of issues with the TRICARE funds that come from military. I mean, you know that the limit has been taken off now.
Yes,
But
yes.
having said that, they don't allow a lot of things for military insurance. They don't allow, certain numbers of supervision or overlaps and so on and so forth. So it is much harder. And I completely agree with you, Nancy. I think one of the reasons that Act Today decided to really, of course, we help hundreds and hundreds of children, but the main attention we give to the military, I think it's mainly because, you look at the prevalence is higher for the
Yes.
military families. They move around all the time.
Every
This is
2
the
years
thing-
on average, Doreen.
and this is the thing that I think is the hardest, as well as the fact that, of course, always one of them is deployed or even both of the parents
I
are
know.
deployed. But when they move around, it's so unbelievably difficult on the whole system. Like, the child doesn't get the interventions. That's part of the reason CARD has so many families from the military, because they know we have locations everywhere and they can transfer to a nearby location. But that really breaks apart their therapy. So I'm really glad that a lot of this is for the military. I'm really very much
Well,
in
this
support
is a
of that.
great example, Doreen. We've got a boy named Grayson here that we gave a grant to. The dad is a retired Marine.
And thank God last year they just started to cover the retired personnel.
Yes, but he wasn't covered at that point. And Grayson is a triplet, all three children on the autism spectrum. And when his father retired, his ABA was terminated, and we were able to approve a grant of 3 months for ABA therapy and in-home therapy with a software with skills.
And I believe
for
we have a
this family.
picture of Grayson and his family if Kelby wants to show us so that you get an idea, because I think it's important to hear the names, but it's also wonderful sometimes when we get to
There
see
they
the
are. All
faces.
three of these children are on the autism spectrum. So
Imagine
you can
saying
imagine.
no to this family.
Unbelievable.
And what Act
Unbelievable.
Today does is helps to say yes to this family, to these wonderful people who've served. So we're going to be continuing to talk about this and ever so much more, but we are going to do our regular programming as well and have Dr. Grant Pichet answer some questions that you guys have written in. So we want you to stay tuned. We want you to be sending in your questions. I want to remind you right now that there are many different ways that you can participate with us. Kelby's going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can get in touch with us. I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. That's a great way that you can go and get a question answered on the show for free. You go to that site, put your cursor in the box that says your question, start typing, hit enter, and that's really all you have to do. There's no login, there's no cost. Nobody's going to ask you for your name, your password, your username, your credit card number.
right.
It's not about that, right?
No, thank
We're
God.
much more user-friendly than that. So make sure that you're participating with us. We're going to start the show off here with Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. We have with us Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet, and as I always like to remind you, she is a true expert in the field of autism. Beyond that, she is a visionary in the field of autism.
Shannon embarrasses me every week.
Well, you
saying
are,
that,
and
but
I can
appreciate that.
attest to the fact that my son Wyatt was, my life before I discovered ABA therapy and Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet. I've told the story many times of how I went to a DAN conference when Wyatt was 4 years old. I had never heard the term ABA therapy. I had been a television executive, an author. I thought I was one of the people that knew everything.
Right.
And I go to this conference, and comes Dr. Doreen Grandpichet, and she's showing how these children can improve and even recover. And I called my husband, Reed, and I said, I've met someone who will help our son. I know now there is hope. And
Crazy.
we
It's
also
unbelievable.
heard Dr.
Gives me
Andrew
goosebumps when I
Levinson.
think about it. Now
Yeah.
that we've been working together for so many years.
8 years,
You know?
Wyatt has been working with you, and the gains he has made. I was very concerned because we missed that magical window of early intervention,
Right.
but I can tell you the progress my son has made. He is in a full inclusion in a school. He does have an A, but he's in a full inclusion class. He is playing football. He is in the choir. He is.
Well, he can. You know, the biggest thing for me was Wyatt, and I told. Do you remember Lisa, who did feeding with him early on?
Yes, yes.
Right. She was here, of course, over the last few months. Just got married.
Okay.
And she was asking me about Wyatt,
Okay.
and I said, "Oh my God, you have to see him while you're here. I really want you to see him because." You can have a conversation with Wyatt.
Oh,
that's
definitely.
the thing. It's it's so that's the big change for me.
Yes.
And while he does still have some things that he focuses on a little bit too much,
Little
it's
OCD,
so much
yeah.
less than before.
Oh,
it used to be so
absolutely.
disturbing to him.
Yes, and the tantrums,
So,
Doreen, are gone.
He's happy.
He
He's
knows
happy.
how to express himself now. He'll say it's time to cool down, and he will go in his room, and he has things that he can turn to. I think the most disturbing thing for me in those early days, Doreen, were the tantrums.
The tantrums and the aggression. He
The
had a lot of aggression
I mean,
towards
I
you.
put
remember.
makeup on my arms for 2 years to hide it because I was so ashamed because I thought I was a bad mother.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Well, and we all appreciate you so much. I want to
Well,
remind
thank
everybody
you.
that as we're asking you questions today, that you and there's no one that is expert enough to give individual specific advice in this format.
Right. It's just
amazing.
it's not. We do the best we can with the information we get. We don't. We just want to caution people to, not to. If our comments don't apply to your child, please get back to us. Give us more details.
Yeah.
Just take this as general guidance and not that you have to do every single thing that we're suggesting here.
Each child is different.
Every
right?
child is different.
You met one child with autism. You've met one child with autism.
Exactly.
But this helps to give us a place to know what questions to ask,
Right.
which directions we can consider going in. I know you guys have written in and said how helpful it is, so we're going to jump right into some questions. Hi, Dr. Doreen. I have 3 children, 2 twin boys and a girl. Boy has autism and a young 20-month-old boy. The 2 boys are receiving services through Garden Grove full-time. As you know, having 3 kids is frustrating as is, but sometimes I use my louder voice with the girl, and the twin screams, "Ah!" and then he hits his thighs. I realize he hates the yelling. I try to replace his behavior with language like, "Mom, stop yelling," or "Mom, that's too loud," but that doesn't seem to work. And she said, "Help and thanks." It's tough circumstances.
Oh my God. I can't even, I raised 3 typically developing kids, and although pretty much mostly on my own, but it was very, very, very tough, very exhausting. Just kids are a full-time job, and when they have other issues going on, it's so much more work. This is one of those situations, and thank you for sharing this, because that's not something everybody would feel comfortable sharing, but I appreciate that you've shared this, because we all as moms know that we have those moments. And and what's really important, I think, for parents is to realize that you're also human, and you need to get past feeling bad about using your louder voice, because it just is. You get to your last straw, I think, and then you do the best you can.
We don't know anything about
No,
that,
we don't
do
know
we,
anything
Nancy?
about that. As I
yelled
yelled
last
at
night.
Wyatt the other day because he makes coffee every morning. He thinks he's a barista at Starbucks, and he makes it every morning. But I come in and all the coffee grounds are all everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just lost it the other day. I said, I can't do this every morning, Wyatt. Mommy needs help.
Yeah.
And I'm just going off, and Reed comes into the kitchen and is like, what are you having a tantrum about?
Yeah.
And then, I had to lower my voice and then show him how to do it.
Yeah.
But we all do this.
I
We're
yelled
human.
last night,
course
and then
we
I
do.
felt horrible afterwards.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I asked him 3 times to come downstairs, and the 4th time that I said, "Can you come down here?" and he said, "Why?" and I went, "Just come down here." Why do I have to beg?
Which, by the
Lost my
way,
mind.
why? Well, I'm very glad to hear this.
It's therapy
Anyway,
today.
yeah. Why is one of the questions you should never yell at. Just FYI. Why is the one you should always answer? Because
Okay.
why is a great question.
is.
Okay.
It's the best question. It's the one that means I'm really considering doing what you want, but I'm smart enough to want to know the reason. It's the best question. But anyway, I know sometimes we get to the point of frustration where they like, I have this with my kids every night. Dinner time, guys. You know, it's like I tell them half an hour before it's actually dinner time
Right.
because they won't come down. But so, you know, to answer this question, first of all, we all go through this type of stuff. Secondly, and you know, the reason we all go through it is because behaviorally it works for us too. We're frustrated. We're communicating in a not so good way because we're frustrated. But what's really important here is that what you're saying is very doable. You can absolutely teach him to say, "Mommy, please use the lower voice" or something, and maybe that's what you want to do, and that's perfectly fine. But you're trying to do it during the course of real life, and I've always said this, and Shannon always points out, you have to think of these things as individual treatment interventions. You have to work on them not during the course of life. So in other words, you can't do it while it's happening. You kind of have to set it up as a situation and work on it. So, you know, he's doing something. What did she say? What it is that makes her yell?
It's just the daughter that she's yelling at out of
What she's
frustration.
doing.
And
Okay.
then the son
Says the
is
one that gets her.
reacting by
But we
hitting
don't know
himself
what the
and-
daughter is actually doing
Right.
to cause that irritation. So, you know, my first recommendation is to kind of identify what it is that your daughter's doing that causes you to get frustrated. That's a little bit more important than having her tell you to lower your voice. It's more important to identify what is frustrating you, because then we can try to prompt your daughter to do things differently so that that frustration never really happens. So in other words, are you getting frustrated, let's say as an example, when you have to ask for something 5 times? So what's important is that on the first time that something is asked for, it's prompted and followed up so that it occurs on the first time rather than letting it fail and then getting you upset
Right,
and
getting
then
to the
letting
point of
you yell and then having her fix it. So I don't know that it's a good idea ever to get to a point where our kids, I mean, if I yell, I don't want my kids, honestly, personally, if I don't want my kids to come back and say, stop yelling at me. Like, that's not going to be very rewarding for me because I'll feel even worse about it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather they don't do anything that's upsetting to me that I lose it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like adherence to the rules should happen before this.
And I think what's important in what you just said, because the daughter, the girl in this situation, is neurotypical.
Yes.
And so mom is yelling at her,
Right.
which is causing someone on the spectrum to
Right.
be upset. And I think a lot of times we forget that we don't just use ABA techniques on kids with autism.
We use them on everyone. We use them on everyone.
Yeah.
And so there's so many issues in this. One is, let's try to help your daughter communicate better back and forth between you. Secondly, if your son is disturbed and he's the one that's saying lower your voice, you might want to teach him just to either leave the environment or, you know, if you have your therapists actually work on this, where you set up the scenario, then I guarantee you he will learn to come to you and say, please lower your voice. That's just because right in the moments of frustration where people are yelling, that's not a good place to teach anything. But, you know, preferably, none of this should actually be happening. And if we're not able to, I hope we're giving you a lot of support through, I don't know, possibly your insurance. 80% of our kids are now insured in California. So, and now Medicaid is here, Medi-Cal, so we will have coverage for all families through Medi-Cal as well. But, you know, if aside from that, you should know that you have eligibility, obviously, to get respite care from the regional center, and you should push for that. And don't believe anything they tell you. It's completely irrelevant whether you have ABA insurance, whatever. It has nothing to do with it. Your child, whoever needs it, is eligible to get respite. And that means they will pay you for you to use that fund to hire a babysitter or hire someone who can just assist you.
Yeah, you have to fill out a set of documents, the medical waiver, I believe it is.
And just when you, I feel
overwhelming.
like it's extremely that's
But it's
overwhelming, but
worthwhile.
it's a short. Yeah, it's like, and we can help too with that. But I just want you to try to get support, because one of the things that maintained my sanity, and I told you this very early on, and you did the same thing, was always having an au pair. I always
had au
had
pair
someone
early on.
living with me who would help with
Yes.
driving them,
Yes.
with meals, with whatever, you know.
Yeah,
So
it was a very inexpensive way for us. At the time, we did have room in our home.
Exactly.
We don't now, but we did hire several young people from an au pair agency, which is 1/100th of the cost of a nanny you hire in LA.
absolutely, I think they're like $7 an hour or something when it comes down to that.
And just before we leave this question, I want to point out too that as a sibling of two brothers who are on the autism spectrum, you expressed your frustration about some of the things going on.
Right.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
going to guess
Thank you.
that
Yes.
she's feeling
Yes.
some frustration
Yes.
too. And I know some people use respite for their kids on the autism spectrum so that
Right.
they can take and go have time with the child who is neurotypical, which sometimes eases some of the stress.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's one of the most critical things is we get so busy trying to put out fires that we forget about our kids who actually are typically developing and need attention. So please do attend to her, and please keep mind of the fact that she might be doing whatever it is that's irritating you because she wants the negative attention. In other words, she possibly is not receiving enough attention. One of the things you can do, and you're in our Garden Grove office, one of my favorite offices, by the way. Hello, Betty Tia, and who runs that office. What I would suggest is that you use our center-based services, and then take your other child out. So, we have a system where you can drop your child off at the center for intervention. It could be any of the regular sessions. It doesn't matter. You can do it once a month. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be on a schedule of any kind. You could just say, can I use center-based today? And those sessions will occur then at the Garden Grove office, and then you can actually take your daughter and do something.
Yeah, go on a daughter date.
Doreen, do you have any tips for moms? Let's say we have certain behaviors where we reach a breaking point and we start to yell, or we start to be so stressed out that we can't handle it. What are some alternatives to that so we don't get to that point? I mean, where we do our own sort of coping skills.
Yeah, I mean, I can list. Thanks. That's a really good question. Hopefully, it'll help some people. And there's a ton of stuff, and I'm sure you ladies, both being quite experienced in this, can add to this list. And we can list them. And then the question becomes: are you able to cut off at that moment and actually go and engage in any of these other things? Like, it is up to you for that alarm to go off in your system that says, I need to walk away now from this.
Right.
So, and there's different scenarios. Sometimes you can't walk away, and if you can't walk away because it's of a safety factor, you're in public or whatever it is, then I think, for me personally, closing your eyes and simply breathing to 10 breaths, deep breath, like, really inhale, and just, even if you're not calming down at all, just do that 10 times, because honestly the change of oxygen will slow you down a little bit.
Yes.
And you just need to do that. That's the very, very
And it
minimum.
resets you, doesn't it? Kind of
It
gives you a
resets
reset.
you, as long as there's no dialogue, as long as you're not right in the middle of it.
Okay.
Because sometimes we reset ourselves, but it's such a frustrating topic, or you're so exhausted that it just resumes. So that's the situation if you can't leave. If you can leave, just hand the child over to someone else and walk away for half an hour. Half an hour is nothing in the scope of time and life. Just walk away and go do anything. Lay down, close your eyes, breathe, look outside, take a shower, take a bath, smell a candle, anything else, make some food, whatever it is. Just 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then your heart rate will be back to normal.
Right. And the other thing is that Shannon did a guided meditation.
For stressed out parents.
How can parents find that?
You can find that. It's on iTunes. It's
Okay.
free download. It's 11 minutes because I know we don't have very much time.
Right.
But you can also find it on our blog. If you
Okay.
scroll down, it's a little ways the download.
And that's something that you can do if you can't do it on a daily basis. You can't do it for 20 minutes a day, which many of us can't do that.
Right.
But if you have a hard time doing it on your own, I urge you to listen to this and use that, and that will start to calm you just in general.
Absolutely.
I start my day with morning prayer and just a contemplative 20 minutes where I do a meditation. And the days that I don't do it in the morning, and then it usually flies out the window, my day is totally different. I always remember a saying that my mother used to say, "A day hymned in prayer seldom unravels."
That's really nice. That's beautiful.
And on that note, I want to talk just a little bit about the Autism Active Love as we go to a break. We're going to be showing someone taking the challenge, a couple of different people seeing the challenge. Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about what the funds, what kinds of things the funds might go towards.
Let me just tell you what you can be funding and the awareness too. We don't want to just stress making a donation because we value you doing the Active Love Challenge and posting it on your social media and challenging other friends, because you never know who's going to make that donation. You never know who that awareness is going to reach. So $100 raised covers 2 hours of intensive ABA therapy that can stop a child from destructive behaviors, that can begin the path of, say, a child who elopes or a child who tantrums. $1,000 can fund a full special needs summer camp to teach a child to socialize, make friends, and form new friendships. The letters we have gotten, Doreen and I can tell you, break your heart, of children who say, it's the first time I've ever belonged, it's the most amazing thing in my life, not to mention the parents saying the stress of having a week, 2 weeks with my child. And then the children always come back more independent.
Yes.
They're so proud of their accomplishments. $3,000 to $5,000 funds an intensive behavioral therapy program, and it can literally be life-changing for a child with severe autism. So those are just some of the things, not to mention assisted technology, assistance dogs, as we said, safety devices, fencing, helmets.
I mean, and let me just try to make it a little bit more real. You know, it's for us, it's very easy because the three of us, we tend to see a lot of kids and we know what this really means, but you know, you have to imagine children who are extremely frustrated because they can't communicate, and young children, you know, 5, 6, 10, and all they're doing is running around, hitting people, throwing objects, getting extremely aggressive towards their siblings, towards their parents, not communicating in any way, extremely frustrated, you know, not sleeping, just upset all the time. And we get them an iPad, which is what, $500, right?
Yeah.
And we put software on it for another $100 or $200 or whatever. And that device, we then spend maybe, I don't know, a month teaching the child how to use the device to communicate, just with just pictures and things they want, and their life changes completely. The entire family changes completely because everyone is now, the child is, I have some of my most severe kids are able to use their iPads or and just to be able to say, this is what I want. Some of my kids who we never thought would, and they're not speaking, and they're 10, 12 years old, and they're non-verbal kids, are texting into iPhone now, things like, hey mom, there's Toys R Us, let's go shop. You know, crazy stuff that changes these kids and changes their families' lives. So this is really, really effective dollars. Like, it's
life-changing.
It's life-changing.
The other thing we found, Doreen, with the iPad program is that we oftentimes find hidden talents in these children.
Oh, yes.
Talents for drawing,
music,
animation,
and so on.
music.
Yes, yes.
You know, we have a little boy that we gave an iPad to a couple of years ago, and he's become quite the filmmaker.
Right.
He is, you know, videoing everything.
That's right,
He
that's
sends me videos all the time.
That's right. Good point. Thank you for pointing that out to
and
me.
some of the therapists have contacted me saying that the children they're working with, once they've gotten this iPad, they've seen huge jumps.
Huge gains. Yes,
So,
I agree.
So I love hearing directly from the therapist when they're working with children that have gotten a grant, because it's just so gratifying to see that they feel it's made a difference.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to take a break and take a look at some of these challenges that people have been taking all over the world. We want you to participate as well. We'll be back right after this with more of Ask Dr. Doreen.
Hi, I'm Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, and I'm excited to take the Autism Act of Love Challenge today. I'm taking this challenge in the name of all of my kids, all of the wonderful children, teens, and adults that we've treated and continue to treat at CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. In your honor, I'm going to draw something I love very much while blindfolded. Here we go. Here's my screen. Okay, my first color. This is going to be my husband, who has very curly hair. And next to him will be my son. Not sure how to make Sunny different. Then I need a new color now. And I'm going to draw my daughters. Oh boy. This is Nikki, my oldest daughter. This is Charlie, my youngest daughter. And finally, for a last color, I want to make sure that I draw my puppy, whose name is Ruffles. Okay, and a big heart, because that's my family and I love my family. Good. Let's see how that turned out. Okay. Okay, well, I'd like to challenge all of you guys at CARD, every Cardian. I'm asking you to please participate in this challenge. All of our clinical managers, our supervisors, all of our therapists, I want every single one of you to participate in this Autism Act of Love challenge. Please do the drawing in honor of someone that you care about and make a donation, whatever amount, to ACT Today, Autism Care and Treatment Today. You can make the donation by going to helpforautism.org and helpforautism.org. And lastly, challenge the people in your life to do their own Autism Act of Love. Thank you. Together we're going to make a difference.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Doreen, this very special edition of Autism Live. I'm here with the fabulous Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson and the truly remarkable Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, two of my favorite people on the face of the earth. And we're here doing this special edition talking about, well, we're answering your questions with Dr. Graham-Pichet for Ask Dr. Doreen, but we're also focusing on Autism Act of Love, the challenge that we're asking everybody to take and donate. I wanted to, do you want to read one letter to start off?
Yeah.
From somebody who's received a grant and what difference it makes.
Let me take this on the iPad screen.
These are unbelievable.
Aren't they amazing? Okay,
Wow.
Dear Act Today, wow, how Logan has taken off since he received his iPad. He wants to use it every day. He knows all of his colors and all of his shapes, even the hard ones like a rhombus and a hexagon. I don't know those, Logan. Even though he has the speech delay, he knows what you are saying and can use the iPad to touch and say the word, and it stays with him. His teacher just sent home a report to compare him from last year. She was almost in tears because he has improved so much. Emotions take over when you see your kids blossom and smile, and this mom knows my son is going to succeed in life. Thank you so much, Logan's mom. That's what your donations make possible.
And remember, that goes to helpforautism.org. That's where you need to go. Take the Autism Act of Love Challenge and donate to Help for Autism, spelled out F-O-R, autism.org. Did you want to read one, Dr. Graham?
I can't. I don't know that I can read. These are just too emotional.
Beautiful, beautiful
Like, they're
letters.
crazy. I can't even believe these letters. Like, wow. Honestly, I can't just. I have not seen these letters. These are coming to ACT today, and they're just. I can't even believe it. I don't know which one to read. I'll just read the top one. This is an iPad letter. We should read all of these for our audience because they're unbelievable. Dear ACT Today, I would like to take this opportunity to thank your organization for the grant that was given to my son, Jomar. Being a single mom of 5, 3 of which are disabled, I would have never had the means to be able to provide my son with a communication device. Jomar was given a grant that provided him with an iPad that has given him a voice. It's very timely to read this right after what we were saying. Since receiving his iPad, he has been able to use different applications to communicate with us. He has a long way to go, but Jomar has made an enormous change. I'm so grateful to ACT Today for the grants given to Jomar. There are no words to express my gratitude. Thank you all so much for granting my son a tool to communicate. Thank you, Jamar's mom. Like,
That's amazing.
oh, these are unbelievable.
Life-changing. Okay, so again, we're asking you to participate in this. This is something that you can do. Take the challenge, 3-marker challenge. You're blindfolded or close your eyes. Draw something you love in the name of someone that you love, first names only, and then challenge other people. Help us to keep it going. Share it all over Facebook, on your Twitter. We love Pinterest pins about it. Be involved, be a part of it to help it to grow so that more families can get this help. We ask that you make a donation of any size. There is no amount that is too small to helpforautism.org. When you do that, it will help to make a grant for someone, just as these grants have been made in the past. But we are here with Dr. Graham Pichet, and it's Ask Dr. Doreen, so we're answering questions.
Right, and I just want to add that I think, when we launched this through CARD, I just want to, say thank you to my staff, because I think something around 500 or so therapists.
It's over 600.
It's over 600 therapists have been participating in this Acts of Love Challenge, and I'm really, really proud of that.
Done an amazing
it's
job.
probably the first thing that I've been able to accomplish with such a large number of people all doing it at once. Like, it's pretty amazing to me, and I'm just very proud of them, and I want to thank them.
And ACT Today wants to thank all of the CARD employees. They're so supportive of us. They're continually doing things like holding private fundraisers for us. A lot of your satellite offices do that. And many of them donate a portion of their salary,
paycheck. I know. That, I think, is also fabulous, and I just want to keep thanking those guys who do that, and it makes a big difference.
It does. It only
have,
takes one drop to become a ripple, to become a wave.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, now getting back to some of the questions, I want to acknowledge somebody wrote in just before the break, because we were talking about another overwhelmed mom, and they wrote in and said, thank you for the overwhelmed mom question. Bless your hearts for sharing your experiences. It's good to know we're not alone, and you gave some very good suggestions. Going through the same thing with my neurotypical child. She is more my problem child, and I realized that there is no plan to handle behaviors for her while we have one for my autistic boy, and thank you. I think that's very common.
And it is really common, and it's the squeaky wheel thing. It's like we have to pay attention to the child that we feel needs it most, and we forget that our other kids need the same attention. We just completely forget that.
And that the same techniques work on them.
The same techniques work on them, and let's just touch that for a minute, what does that mean? That means, in very, very short ABA language, you don't give attention for the bad behavior. You're supposed to give attention for just good behavior. This is why I make sure that no matter what is going on in my life, and my life is pretty crazy, and next year will be even more crazy with travel, but I make sure that I have specific activities with each of my kids that are on consistent, regular, ongoing, because that's where I can give them attention.
They want the attention.
Absolutely. I mean, and the same holds true for our spouses. We forget that.
Right.
And it's just a matter of, and it's not a lot of time. I know that, all of us say, I don't even have 20 minutes, but the truth is, a lot of us do things in that 3 times a week, 20 minutes, we work out. You know, so add 2 more 20-minute time frames for one of your kids or just for yourself to rest.
It actually takes less time to do that than to deal with the problems. It
Oh,
just until you start
question,
to
no
do it,
question.
you don't believe that, but
That's
it takes
right.
less time.
And you know, coming from the perspective of being growing up with a special needs sibling, my brother had Down syndrome, and my parents were so focused on him that I oftentimes felt left out. And
Yes,
I started in
yes.
my teen years kind of doing some rebellious behavior because I wanted attention.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't getting any. So, okay, if I was being good and I wasn't getting attention, why don't I'll be
Right.
bad and get
Right.
attention.
Right.
So we have to realize, too, that a lot of these
That's what
rebellious
happens. That's what-
behaviors are a cry out for
Attention seeking.
just getting attention.
Absolutely. But you know, and I just, not to touch on this too much, but I don't want our moms to feel guilty about this as well, because I do want to say that it's looking at you both, you know, being siblings, and some of my other people who are very high up at CARD. They're siblings. They're always. I always say this, that if you have a sibling with a disability, it just. On the one hand, you do get less attention, possibly. The family is struggling more, but you know what? It turns you into a much stronger person and a much more empathetic person. And like sometimes I see, for instance, some of my people they take it personally, you know, like they're like, this is not okay what's happening. I'm going to fight this so-and-so. And I know it's because they are on that side. They've had a sibling. They know what it's like, you know?
Yeah,
It was a
absolutely.
gift, and I mean, there's definitely a silver lining to these things. And my father used to always say to me, God's not made a mistake with you having a child with autism, because you had David and you knew how to deal with
Handle
David,
that.
and now you're a gift to another child.
That's right.
So
That's right.
All right, I want to move on to the next question. Really intense question. Hi, I want to know who I should ask for an autism assessment. I have asked my psychiatrist about it, but I felt he didn't understand me because I have problems with expressing. I can't work or go to school because I have meltdowns and tantrums, and I just don't know what to do. I also have cerebral palsy. Thank you.
Wow. I'm not surprised that you spoke with a psychiatrist and they didn't have much of an understanding of what you're requesting. I don't know where you live. It's difficult to find the right person to provide an assessment for you, and I'm assuming you're an adult, and it's difficult because you have been functioning in the real world. Perhaps you've been having a lot of problems, but you've been functioning. So you most likely will not get a diagnosis of ASD. You may have features of ASD, and I don't know, you may get a diagnosis of ASD. This kind of brings me back to the last week when Jerry Seinfeld had made that comment. You know, Jerry Seinfeld made a comment saying that he felt he had he was on the spectrum, and of course he's not on the spectrum. He sort of shares some of the similarities or some of the key aspects of the spectrum, but unless you have enough of a disability, it's not really considered a disorder, right? So the symptoms have to be severe enough and enough in number as well. So for your purposes, I would try to seek out a psychologist who has autism experience or works with individuals with autism rather than a psychiatrist. I'm trying to think, depending on where you are, you know, there are centers where if you can look up online and find behavioral treatment centers and look and see if they have licensed psychologists. See, if you can't go to see a BCBA, because a BCBA, a board certified behavior analyst, is not allowed to diagnose, won't be able to give you a clear understanding of what your issues are. But a lot of or some ABA organizations now also employ licensed psychologists who have a very strong behavioral background. That's the type of person that I would suggest you see.
if they're in California, would the regional center be able to do anything?
Regional
adult?
center, not really. We're actually, the regional centers are so far behind in California now that Medi-Cal is, Medi-Cal depends on the regional centers to do their assessments, so the regional center system is not able to keep up anymore. We actually are doing a ton of their assessments, just assessments. So if you're near a CARD site, get in touch with us because we do assessments out of all of our sites now. And if you're not, get in touch with our assessment center. Maybe they can refer you to someone. A lot of our assessors are from different locations in the country. And if you like, you can write back to Shannon, and I can try to help find you someone in your area. Shannon's also very good at finding people for you.
I'm trying to connect now to have a person in every state that I can say, I can call them and say, in your state, what's this? I'm working on that.
And let's not forget the website Love My Provider.
Yes.
I don't know what state you're in. They don't cover every state yet, but if you look up Love My Provider, it's a reference sort of resource website where you put in your zip code and it tells you all the providers in your area.
Okay.
And this is not necessarily autism specific. You very well could find in there a psychologist or someone who can help with diagnostic issues.
Can we talk just for a second about, because what I hear in this question is that even with their psychiatrist, they're having problems with expressing, and then in the next sentence they say, I have tantrums and meltdowns. And to me that sounds like, well, of course you would. If you had trouble expressing yourself, that's prime setup area to have tantrums and meltdowns.
It's amazing. I have some people, there's one person in particular who works for me, and I often think, I wish I could have a different relationship with this person. Obviously, I can't because they're an employee, but I see so many psychological issues that I could help them with. I completely read that person's energy, and I know completely that they're just afraid of interacting, and I think it's, for whatever reason, a lot of us have little issues that, you have tantrums and meltdowns because you are possibly you don't feel like you can express yourself in a way that's acceptable or understood. Possibly you have so many other frustrations that are gathering and you're not able to deal with the whole picture. Possibly you don't have an outlet. I mean, there's a million different reasons why we have meltdowns, and like the kids that are on the spectrum and with whom we work, frustration, meltdowns and tantrums it's not like they're a neurological problem. No, they're frustration. They're an outlet, they're a form of communication. When we have meltdowns, we are trying to communicate that we've had enough, that we need something to change. And if we are able to communicate that before having the meltdown, and if things actually do change, then we won't have the meltdown. So, meltdowns, what you need, aside from the diagnosis, is obviously some ways to help yourself. Just like you were saying earlier, Nancy, it's like teaching yourself when you're, like, recognizing the symptoms of when you're about to have a meltdown so that you can walk away and just have a calm moment and reason things a little differently. Now, you may have a problem with that. You may have difficulty where you need assistance. Someone needs to help you to reason things differently, to have a different point of view. Many people have issues with seeing other people's perspective. Many people do. So these are all things that you might find helpful for you. I don't know, Shannon, do you think this person might benefit from some of the lessons on skills?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. I think that there are so many, I know as an adult who is not on the spectrum, when I read through the lessons and skills, like the social language, especially section, and the executive function, I saw so many things that I could be doing differently to have a better life.
Right.
And I thought, my first thought was every single junior high and high school student in the world should have to read through those because it's so educational. But I also thought of all the things that I could be doing better and all the adults that I knew that were struggling with some aspect of their life that involved social situations or communication or just following through with things that could benefit.
Right.
We're not talking about kids, and we're not talking about kids on the spectrum here. We're talking about adults
No, I know.
who are are having their lives, otherwise everything is working, but I think everybody has a part of their life that they think, this isn't working and I'm frustrated.
Right.
And I think they could all
And
benefit
it usually
from
has to do with communication.
Yeah, it does.
Often.
Yeah, it really often does, and or our internal expectations of ourselves and others. And it's, as you were saying all this, I was just thinking to myself, so many of my friends often come to me and ask me what to do with their kids who are typically developing
Yes,
kids,
of
know.
course.
And I think to myself, it would be awesome if we have, how we have like Huntington Educational Centers or whatever, those places that that teach kids tutoring, It would be amazing if we could have just behavioral centers where you could just go
there's
in.
a huge need for that.
And right. And
Now you're developing yet another thing for you to do.
Right. Well, that would be very easy to do, and I would do it.
Okay.
The only issue with it is that there's no funding for it.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like the system funds only the most severe problems.
Yes.
And so, obviously, though, there's also no funding for things like Huntington. We pay money to them to tutor our kids.
Yeah. And I think a lot of parents would be willing to pay money for their typical kids to learn how to
Just
communicate
manage
better.
life, yeah.
Well,
And
let's
manage
be
life better.
honest. There are a bunch of single men who would go to that behavioral center just to find out how to talk to women. Right?
That's true.
That's what they would do. Okay, I want to move on because I've got two more questions I want to squeeze
Sure.
in. Hello, what are some helpful classroom interventions for PDD and OS? My daughter is in kindergarten and is struggling with finishing her work, listening to the teacher, and is not at the same level academically with the rest of her class. And I said, thank you.
There's a lot you can do, and congratulations, because you have a high-functioning child in regular education. It's not going to be, you're sort of on the downslope now. Like this is easy stuff. It may seem very hard, but it's the fun and easy stuff. I think you would, there's a million things that you can do to assist a child in school. I'm trying to think of the fastest resources I can give you. One is Skills, obviously. You should go on Skills. This is skillsforautism.com. You would want to, and you have a free trial period, I believe, so I would suggest that you go straight to the, after you answer the assessment questions, you go straight to the section having to do with executive functioning, social curriculum, and cognition curriculum. Those three areas will really, really benefit you in terms of learning more about high-functioning kids and the issues they have. The other thing that would benefit you is the BIP Builder, which is also part of Skills, and so you would answer some questions about the types of behaviors. So we often talk about challenging behaviors as like, hitting, but very honestly, inattention is a challenging behavior, or, not paying attention to the teacher, those types of things, they're all challenging behaviors. So those types of things can be addressed through the BIP Builder. It's a place where you can ask, list your behavior. It's actually the indirect functional assessment first, the CFA. You'll say this is a behavior that's challenging to me, and the system will ask you a bunch of questions about the behavior, when it occurs, what's usually done, that sort of thing, and it'll help you identify the reason for the behavior, and it'll help you identify how to deal with the challenging behavior and the types of interventions you can use. Now, another resource that would be good for you is IBT, Institute for Behavioral Training. When you go on their website, they have a list of training modules, and in there you'll definitely find things for school shadowing, what a good shadow should do in school. That'll help. And all the techniques that we use in general, just everything in terms of not paying attention to bad behaviors, how you redirect behaviors, how you shape a behavior, all of that stuff is on IBT. So I think, as a parent who is dealing with a high-functioning individual who is, you're looking at high-level stuff here. It's not the basic stuff that you could get from just any ABA program. I really recommend you kind of educate yourself a little bit more, and I think IBT will help with that.
And then you can educate the teacher too.
Yes.
We're coming up on the holidays when you're going to want to gift to your teachers and aides, and you can gift those IBT trainings. Pick the one you want, or the 3 that you want, or the 10 that you want, and gift them to your aide or your teacher.
This year, now that you reminded me, I am going to do this.
That's what I'm going to do.
This year, I'm actually going to give like a free license or number to all the parents to give to their teachers.
Oh,
And I think
it's
that's what we need to do. Yeah. And every year you've told me, and this is the first year now I have time to do it.
I'm going to give it to Wyatt's teacher. This mom situation begged the question for me, what kind of supports is she getting from her school district?
Yeah.
Because her child with PDD and OS should not be just thrown into a general inclusion class with no supports.
Yeah.
I'm hoping she gets services from her district.
What are grades? Yeah.
And often that's difficult because when you get that, you know, when
I know.
you get
I had
PDD and OS,
I had
you're trapped in the
PDD and
middle of
OS
nowhere.
when Wyatt was moderately
Yes,
autistic.
that's
They misdiagnosed
Yeah.
him. So yeah, you don't get anything, and
So
yeah,
true.
you need to go in that IEP and make sure your daughter is getting what she deserves.
Well, first you have to fight for
right.
the IEP when you have PDD and OS.
Right.
It's not a given that you'll get one, but fight for one, or at the very least a 504 plan so that you get services. And then you'll have more. But I honestly think you'll get more traction out of teaching the teachers what to do via IBT.
Right.
Which is
But the teacher has to be willing.
ibehavioraltraining.com. That's true, but if the teacher
Yeah,
isn't willing, it's
yeah.
time to get a new teacher.
Absolutely.
I'm an
I
ex-teacher,
agree.
and a teacher who doesn't want to learn isn't a teacher. Move on.
No, it's true.
You know?
No, it's very true. And you both have really good points. Can I just say before the end of the show, and I know we want to answer more questions, but I loved doing a show with the two of you. Like, I think we covered more stuff than we ever do. And it's just like so many different perspectives. I feel like we should do this more.
Well,
We will.
I'd love
an
to. If she's
awesome
available.
I'd love to.
opportunity,
I think
you know?
it's great when we share our my experiences with Wyatt and Shannon's experience with Jem, and we're so open about that, you know. And I love to say what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me.
Yeah.
And yesterday, having Atticus Baldwin, they were just so entertaining and amusing. We'd
Well,
like to have more kids actually on the
absolutely.
spectrum join
But can
us.
I
yeah,
say too,
that's a great idea.
watching their moms react to them was also something that was very rejuvenating with
Yeah,
me.
it was
And
precious.
both
Nice.
of those moms were just
Nice.
in a place of acceptance of this is my child, and my child is gifted and talented and wonderful, and it was really wonderful because I pick at Jem and go,
Right.
don't do this, stand up this way, don't breathe that way, don't do
Well,
this.
why don't we do something like that? Why don't we at least offer to our kids to do a segment here,
love
or
for
to
that.
do acts of love
Absolutely.
challenge?
And do acts of love.
And
We should
air
have
it here,
Have
yeah.
your children
Absolutely.
do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm trying to squeeze in more
Okay.
questions here. Okay, I want to deal with what we had on Facebook. We had some parents, a group of parents, write in about center-based versus home-based
Yeah.
when you're homeschooling.
Right.
So what is the sort of configuration they want to know? How many hours a day of home-based ABA would you recommend for parents who are homeschooling? And then what's the right configuration? Other parents jumped on that and said, if you're
center-based.
homeschooling already, do you go to home? How many hours do you want in the home? How many do you want in the center?
Every child is going to have a different thing happening, and I can't respond to that because it really depends on the personality and the characteristics and skills of the child. If I have and the age. I mean, if I have, let's say, a 5-year-old who's very severe, then I'm going to want way more ABA than school. If I have a really high functioning, let's say 8-year-old, I'm going to want very little ABA, much more school. And but if it's homeschool, then that changes things again because regular school functions as education as well as a social environment. And so the center-based programs that we now have somewhat provide that social environment. Again, it depends on the functioning level of the child because we don't have typical kids in our programs. We have an array of kids. Some of our kids are extremely high functioning, and what we try to do in our center-based programs is we try to pair the kids up at some point. So in other words, they'll have their one-to-one program, and then they'll have social activities with kids similar to them, or so that they're not modeling. We don't allow our kids to do bad behavior, so it's not like they will have any bad models. They won't, but we really do want to pair our kids up as much as possible for social programs. Now, having said that, we are opening up a whole ton of schools. So that's our thing now.
What ages will it serve, Doreen?
It's funny that you say that. When we opened our Virginia school, it was just, I think we opened it with very young, like 4 till, I want to say 10 or 8. And that was the first 12 kids, and then right after that we learned that we can expand it. So we expanded it all the way up to 18, and now so we moved into a bigger spot so that we could double our kids, and that's full now.
Okay.
That's great, like instantly. So now I asked Marianne, who's our senior supervisor, has opened offices, has run offices or clinics, and BCBA, of course, and is now superintendent of our schools. She is now going to be, the next 2 locations are here in California, Woodland Hills.
Okay.
And Phoenix Chandler area. So we're doing one in Arizona, one here, and then we're opening another one in the Torrance area. We're starting this now, and it's a non-public school, so it's the same funding we get from school districts.
Okay.
And school districts tend to like them more of non-public schools and agencies because it's a center and it has to follow some of the regulations a little bit differently. Parents love them because you're dropping your child off and they're getting actually ABA.
Right.
You know,
while they're being educated.
While they're being educated, right? Because it's a school, it has to follow the California curriculum. It does. You know, I don't know if you know, but our academic portion of skills does follow. It matches the California curriculum.
I didn't know that. Great to know.
So, but it's only, you know, it doesn't cover all the areas. Our schools will, obviously. So, you know, and homeschooling, actually, it's interesting. I'm getting this question so much more now. It's become so popular, not just homeschooling, but what is it called? Independent schooling, I think is what it's called, where kids are just taking courses online from places like BYU and so on, you know, online, and they're just graduating that way, which is fascinating for me that that's happening.
And a great option for many of our kids on the spectrum.
Fantastic option for many of our kids. And I think to myself then, you know, for this family to kind of give closure, the main thing, so it's not about the balance of hours, it's about the balance of activities. So you want to make sure you have the educational portion, you have the ABA, which is dealing with not just behaviors, but actually teaching all the minute skills. And then you want to make sure you have the social portion in place. So some combination of those 3, and every child is different.
And it's always, you know, I always find every year that mix changes because...
It changes every year, correct.
Because in the beginning we had to focus so much on Wyatt's behaviors.
There you go.
Because with those behaviors, no way would he access a curriculum.
There you go.
I mean, if my child was verbally stimming and doing physical stereotypy and not focusing, he's not going to be able to do the academics.
Right.
So we had to put a heavy focus, ages 5 through, say, 10, on the behaviors.
Just behavior.
Then now we're moving more into the academics because he's accessing the curriculum better.
Yeah,
and now we're going to be playing catch up. So sometimes it's constantly shifting, and then there's always the social.
And the biological changes, right? I mean, biomedically they change. Puberty and so on and so forth. Right. Sleep. I mean, there's so many factors that influence our kids, and therefore it changes everything else.
But always, I think, you know, my advice for parents would be to know that it's a constantly shifting thing and be willing to make adjustments in the academic, the social, and the behavior based on how your child is progressing.
Absolutely. We're totally out of time.
I know. Are you guys you're going into your show now?
Yes, and we're going to continue to read these.
Good.
Yes, we are.
We are going to continue.
I know you haven't. I hadn't seen a lot of these, and I want our board members to hear them.
So not only do I just real quickly, I'm sorry, I'm going into your time, but I really would like to frame these.
Yes.
Like these are unbelievable. Like they're just amazing. And this is a handful, I think, and I'm pretty sure we get so many more.
There are so many more.
And do you know what I would love? I mean, and I'm really going to follow up with this, Shannon. I would love an entire wall of these. And we're moving, as you know, from here in March or so. And like, let me just say, I really want to follow up on this. This like just made my day.
I know.
Like, honestly made my day.
I think one of the things that I try to do at Act Today is pick up the phone myself or get on the phone when I hear Amy and Elizabeth on with a parent, and I'll get on and I'll just say, hi, this is Nancy, the executive director.
That's right.
Tell me about you, tell me about your child. And what I always say to them usually it's the mothers that I'm on with, and I say, you know, you're a great mom, and invariably they break down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say, you're a great mom because you're pursuing this.
Yeah.
You want the best for your child.
Right.
And don't let anybody take that away from you.
Right.
And so many times they have not been told
I know.
what great parents they are.
So true. And they're the ones that deserve it the most.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones under the most
Yeah.
stress, working the hardest, doing everything they can for their kids to.
But staying in touch with
Amazing.
the people you serve when you're a nonprofit is so important, and these letters mean everything.
And we
to
are
us.
going to read one of these in just a second, so pick which one you want to read. But I just want to address
skills
very
one?
quickly, because we had a parent in Los Angeles write in asking where to get assessments for a 7-year-old with difficulty managing emotions. Just want to give a shout out to you that you're here in Los Angeles. The CARD has an assessment center here.
Yes.
You can go onto the site centerforautism.com and find the assessment center, and you can make an appointment, and they will take care of you.
And make sure you tell them, and let me just tell you, the person that you want to talk to is Marina Liedke. She oversees and manages the assessment center. And I want to really suggest, make sure that you tell them if your child is or is not on the spectrum.
Yeah, she wants to know what type of assessments do we need to figure out what it is and then find solutions. Will they be able to tell her
It'll
that?
be based on, she won't, but she'll schedule a time for you to speak to with one of the psychologists. And more than likely, if your child is just having emotional problems, then the psychologist will probably contact me. We have a variety of psychologists, so I don't know which one you'll be speaking to, but they'll probably be talking to me to say, these are the issues, what tests do you recommend? So we have, I don't know, hundreds of tests that are for every different aspect of child development. So.
Okay, so we thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
And as we go to a break in a second, we're going to be showing you some more of those Autism Active Love challenges. But we want to keep reminding you why this challenge is so important, because when you make a donation to helpforautism.org, you're making a donation to Autism Care and Treatment Today. And we've got some letters here. Did you pick one that you want to read, each
Well,
of you?
these are so amazing.
They're ridiculous. I'll read this one
Okay.
real quickly. This is because it's skills, and skills is my life. So, skills grant, it says, Dear Act Today, thank you so much for the generous grant for the Skills ABA web-based application. It has been such a blessing. It has given me direction on what to do and how to do it when I needed it the most. It's amazing how it is helping my son. Perhaps the most noticeable change now is language. The skills he has acquired through this program have been noticed by others. Although it is very hard work, it is worth it to see him improve day by day. What is even more exciting is to see how happy and proud it makes him. He's working so hard. Thank you so much for your generous gift. Quality ABA therapy has been by far the most beneficial treatment we have tried, but unfortunately, insurance nor the public schools will provide it, and we can't afford it on our own. All of you are angels to help make this possible. This is a tremendous help that would not have been possible without you. Thank you so much. Words cannot express my gratitude for all that you've done to help my son. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Praise
And I'm going to
Yeah.
read one
quick?
more,
Okay.
which was for safety funding. I would like to thank Act Today for the grant that was given for fencing. My son Sal loves being outside, and not having a fence was a problem. He was constantly running away. We live on a busy street. Now that we have a fence, we can enjoy our backyard as a family. Before the grant, one of us had to be watching Sal while the other watched our other 2 children. It is such a relief to know he is safe, even if we turn our heads for a minute. Thanks so much for peace of mind, Sal's family.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
And with that, we're going to go now to a break where we're going to take a look at some people taking the Autism Active Love Challenge, people who are supporting these families, helping to make donations to helpforautism.org. Take a look.
And now I'm going to draw something with my eyes closed, something that I really love. I'm a terrible artist, so bear with me. Ready? With the help of my little guides.
Robinson Pete, and I'm taking the Autism Active Love Challenge to show support for this wonderful cause. Now I'll draw something I love with my eyes closed. Ready? Okay, ready, I'm done. It's not too bad. I challenged Tiffany, my dad, and my sister Ryan. Please take this challenge. Also remember to donate and help for autism.org. Together we can make a difference.
Hi, I'm Ryan, and I'm taking the Autism Active Love Challenge.
Hey, I'm Martin Gould, and I'm taking the Autism Active Love Challenge for Avery. Here goes nothing. That's supposed to be me surfing, like a really huge wave. I nominate Joey King, Julie Bowen, and Karin Brar for this challenge. And remember to donate to helpforautism.org. Together we can make a difference.
Taking the challenge of the Autism Active Love Challenge to show support for my friend Avery, and now we'll draw something that I really love with my eyes closed. So let's do this. Yay! Yeah, stupid marker. Okay. I don't know where I'm drawing this right now. Oh gosh, this probably looks really weird. Okay. Next marker. It's good. This one, I think. I have no idea what this looks like. And the tail. Yeah! Oh my goodness, I was close. Looks odd. I was trying to draw a dog, but it didn't work out too well. But now I challenge my three brothers, Mark, Chris, and BJ, and please take this challenge. Also remember to donate to helpforautism.org. And together we can make a difference. Yeah.
My name is Jonathan Tarbox, and I'm the Director of Research and Development at CARD and the Clinical Lead Manager at the Thousand Oaks office. And I'm taking the challenge, and I'm going to dedicate this to DH, the first boy with autism that I ever worked with. And in his honor, I'm going to attempt to draw my two children, Cleo and Johnny. sun with some sunshine. All right, that's all I got.
What's up, guys? I'm Coy Stewart, and I'm taking the Autism Active Love Challenge. I'm going to close my eyes, put this blindfold on, and draw something that I love. So let's see what happens. Okay. I'm drawing stick figures because I love my family. So this one is my dad. This one is my little brother. All right, let's see how I did. Hey, not bad, not bad. So I drew my family. I love my family. This is my dad. Looks like my dad a little bit. My mom and my little brother. So that's what I love. And thanks for watching, guys. Do not forget to donate to helpforautism.org. Don't forget. Thanks.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
That's what we're into now.
We're in a very special episode of Autism Live where Nancy and I are on a marathon, pledge-a-thon, talking about Autism Acts of Love and how you guys can participate in this really important challenge.
Yes.
It's a 3-marker challenge that you take blindfolded, you draw something you love in honor of someone you love on the spectrum, and then you make an all-important donation of any size to helpforautism.org. When you do that, the money goes to Autism Care and Treatment Today. We've been talking all this week about the different things that can go to fund.
Yeah, let's talk about a few of those things so some of you know what we fund. We, first of all, are one of the only charities that supports families directly. They ask us for what they know their child is responding to and making improvements with. And we pay the provider of those services. So your donation can make possible, $25 can make vitamin supplements for those children that lack nutrients and need their immune systems boosted. $100 can help speech therapy for some of our kids that have a lot of issues with apraxia and other things. $200 can provide a helmet that protects a child with severe autism from headbanging and self-injurious behaviors. $300 can provide a GFCF gift card for stores that a lot of our families live in areas where they cannot access. They don't have grocery stores, so they can get food sent to them by Kenny Kinnick and various other places. And for some of our families that have a lot of success with GFCF, we can fund that. Intensive behavior therapy, we know we can fund that. Co-pays for insurance, which will allow a family to access ABA through their insurance. Special needs summer camps, there's so many of them in so many different ways. There's ones that focus on athletics, there's ones that focus on drama, horseback riding, all kinds of things, but they're all taught by professionals in the field. And a lot of times our children, as many of you know, and have children that may regress during the summer because there's no continuum of care, and very important, not to mention the respite it provides for a parent. Augmentative communication devices. You know, an iPad can not only help a child communicate for the first time and help them type "I love you" to a parent for the first time, but can also help them access curriculums and special talents. An assistance dog can help a child go to school for the first time. So these are all just so important, in addition to our Act Today for Military Families campaign and our Act Espanol, which focuses Hispanic families. So we have a lot of programs, we give out a lot of grants, and if you do the Act of Love Challenge, you are raising awareness for Act Today and possibly raising funds if you choose to, or challenging somebody who may raise funds. And we want to make sure that you post your videos on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest to show the world you care.
Absolutely. One of the things that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on when we talk about augmentative devices, a lot of times our kids use iPads and those have programs that need to be purchased.
Yeah.
When you think about it, if you only have $1 to give and you think, what can $1 do? Well, $1 can pair with another dollar, but $1 on its own can buy an app for a child which can turn things around. We know this is true.
We do.
We've seen kids who were nonverbal, just with a very simple app, are able to imitate a cat speaking to them and mouth the words. $1 can make a big difference. So don't think for a second that it can. And on the other end of the more expensive spectrum of things, those augmentative communication devices, some of our kids need a Dynavox.
Yes, they do.
And that's several thousands of dollars.
A couple of thousand, yeah, I think.
And
actually.
Dynavox, I don't know if you heard just yesterday, Dynavox in their Compass program upgraded yesterday so that now it has the ability to be in English and Spanish.
That's wonderful.
Isn't that amazing? And so some of our kids need that more
I want to be
expensive.
giving those. I want to be giving those.
There we go. I know who I can hook you up with to be able to do
all right.
that. In any case, those are all worthwhile ways that you can donate. We were talking a little bit during the break, and one of the things that I started to say is it's that time of year. And I wanted to finish that thought so that we could all hear it. It's that time of year. And this time of year, as we move into the holiday season and we're about to give thanks, I know those of you in Canada just gave thanks, and here in the United States, we're going to give thanks. And then we're going to move into the holiday season for everyone, whether it's that you participate in Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. All of them have one thing in common, and it's light. They're all about bringing the light and the lights and the love, right? And we have a choice that we can make during this season, and I see it every year in myself and in others, that you can either choose to be in lack and look at all the shopping things that there are and all the things that you can't afford and all the things that you don't have, or you can choose to be in abundance and give to somebody else. And I tell you that when I feel the most holiday spirit is when I choose to be in abundance and give to somebody else. I know you had a moment of that yesterday.
I did. I had a very interesting moment yesterday where I got a call from the college I attended from their, I guess they have these students that take on calling alumni and trying to get them to make donations. So I got a call from a young lady in the afternoon, and I was in the middle of asking for money always, like, trying to find sponsors for our military families run and festival coming up. And I picked up the phone and she said, "Do you have a minute?" And I said, "Well, no, not really." And I said, "But I'll take it." And we started talking, and she said, "What were some of your best memories about Virginia Commonwealth University, where I went in Richmond, Virginia?" And I said, "The professors," and I started going on and about a couple of them. And then she told me about some of the things the school had been doing and the improvements they've made. And it was really an interesting conversation. And she was nervous. You could tell she was kind of going by script. And then finally she gets to the point where she says, "Would you like to make a generous $150 donation?" Because that's clearly the big goal they were going for. Right. And I said, "Yes." And all of a sudden there was this stunned silence. And she said, "Excuse me while I collect myself. I've been doing this for 4 weeks, and you're the first person to say yes." And I said, "Well, you're very good at this. Don't let it discourage you that I'm the first person. In fact, I'm going to give you the name of 2 more people that you're going to call right now, and they'll say yes." And I thought, at this point going into the holidays, I could have spent that on holiday gifts. My husband's birthday is Christmas Eve. But giving back to my school, which I had not done in 5 years, and I truly believe in karma. I truly believe in it. And I believe that as we give, we get. It is just the law of life. And, yesterday I said this acts of love start a virus, get it to go viral, and then maybe you won't get the flu virus this year.
That's right. That's right.
Karma, it works.
It does work.
You got to concentrate on the positive and not your lack, but what you do have. Gratitude, the attitude of gratitude. Yeah. Our family recently, we have been doing morning, all 3 of us saying what we're grateful for. And it always just cracks me up what my son says. "I'm grateful for no teachers today," meaning his therapist in the afternoons. "I'm grateful that I don't have math at school today. And I'm grateful that I have football practice this afternoon."
They're all good things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong to be grateful for. for. And we want to give you the opportunity to feel the feeling that you felt when you said yes to that young woman on the phone.
It was
and
great.
And it doesn't have to be $150, although if you have $150 to give, bring it on. Helpforautism.org.
If you have $150,000, if you happen to be somebody of extreme wealth out there,
or you know somebody,
go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The feeling just grows. But if you aren't somebody who has that kind of money, $1 makes a difference.
It does.
I don't want you to forget that $1 makes a difference. And if you are in circumstances where you personally don't have $1, share. Just share the videos and help it to go viral. There is no one out there who's listening who can't do something to help this. And when you do, you know, it's one of those things of letting go of the result. You have no idea who it might help, and it may come back around to you. I know that when we needed help, we got help. And we've been reading some of the letters about people who've gotten help. It's really, really uplifting to hear how that little difference it can make in a person's life. We are going to go to a break because we're a little bit over time here now, but we're going to go to a break and we're going to show you some more of the challenges. People who've been taking the challenge, I encourage you to take the challenge. And when we come back, we're going to have Vince Redmond, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's going to be giving us some tips on how do we deal with this holiday that we have coming up, because whenever there's a holiday that deals with food, everybody's got an opinion. I don't know why that is, but it's true. So take a look at these challenges.
Elizabeth.
Yes, Elizabeth.
You know, there's something going on now called the internet.
The internet. Okay.
Yes.
That sounds interesting. What
and
is it?
It's a way for us to talk to other people without needing to send out the Spanish Armada.
That's wonderful, because there were so many dead people after that.
I know. Well, now...
Is it a way to take over the world?
It probably is.
Okay.
I haven't quite figured it out yet, though.
Well, I love that. You know how I love taking over countries.
Yes, but from time to time, there are challenges that you can do to help someone.
Okay.
And it is a particular cause of mine to help individuals with autism.
Oh, dear. I agree so with you. I do, darling.
Thank you, my dear.
Okay.
And so we're going to take a challenge where we close our eyes and draw something that we love.
Ah, interesting concept.
And we're going to challenge some other people in just a moment. So I want you to be thinking about who you'd like to challenge.
Okay.
And when we're all done, we're going to donate to helpforautism.org. Are you ready to take the challenge?
I am ready to take the challenge.
All right, close your eyes.
Okay.
You draw on your side of the paper. I, of course, am going to draw my beloved grandson, George, because he is such a dear, sweet, and precious baby. Tell me what you're drawing, Elizabeth.
I am drawing... And I'm cheating a little bit, I must say.
No cheating.
Okay, I'll keep my eyes shut. You know, I always cheated to take over countries.
No cheating.
Yes, sorry. I am drawing the thing I love most in the world. The world!
Oh,
because I hope to take it over, the entire thing one day. You know, I rule over most of it as it stands.
Now open your eyes and see what you've drawn. Oh, I drew a lovely prince. And your world is slightly messed up, but since it is, it's all right, isn't it? In any case, Elizabeth, we want everyone to donate to helpforautism.org.
Helpforautism.org. Now, do we challenge someone now?
Yes, challenge someone. I would like to challenge my 2 grandsons.
Okay.
So, Prince William and Prince Harry. And I'm also going to challenge Prince Philip. Why not? My husband can do it too. And you?
I absolutely love that. I'm feeling a little bit...
at sea?
Yes, because I was thinking of mundane choices, but I think I'm going to have to challenge the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And I believe I would like to challenge the princess. I would like to challenge Princess Kate Middleton, the young one.
Yes.
The current young one that the young prince married. She's
Yes.
quite charming, I think.
She's beautiful.
She's lovely.
She gave birth to this.
She's lovely. You like her.
I adore her.
Yes, I wouldn't even have her beheaded if she was my daughter-in-law.
I would hope
so. So I would like to challenge Kate and I would like to challenge the Prime Minister.
I was going to say challenge Pippa.
Pippa!
Pippa's such a love.
Yes, I did read about her.
Yes.
And she has a cute bottom.
Oh, well, I don't want to go there,
Well,
do
that-
I?
that's-
That's
you know,
inappropriate, Elizabeth. Very
I love
wildly
fashion.
inappropriate. Stop. Right now. In any case, helpforautism.org.
We support it. Ta-ta.
Stop it right now.
We are ridiculous.
We are ridiculous, and we're willing to be ridiculous, and that's a good thing.
Thank you, Vince.
We are being joined right now. If you just heard that voice, Vince Redman is joining us via Skype. He was just appreciating us laughing at ourselves. Vince is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's a regular here on the show, and he is also someone who has been treating individuals on the autism spectrum for multiple decades, not just kids, but teenagers and adults.
And couples that work with, I mean, he works with the families. He
now
works
he
with
works
the
with
parents.
the families, but
Yes.
for years he did therapy, ABA
Yes.
therapy, and when I have a question about a teen, frequently Vince is the person that I run to
Really?
first.
Well, now I'm going
Yes.
to run to him.
There you go.
Wyatt's 13, Vince. He turned 13 on Sunday.
Yes?
Yeah, Sunday was the big 13. I'm in shock. I'm still not, I don't know. I'm devastated.
Got a teenager. But Vince, we're in the middle of our Autism Active Love pledge-a-thon, and Vince took the challenge last week, and you can look at that online. But we wanted to have you come in, Vince, to give us a little bit of a boost going into this holiday season, especially with Thanksgiving coming up here in the United States. Because as I was saying before the break, first of all, when we have a holiday, stress goes up for all of us because there's a lot more sensory things going on. But for some reason, when you add food to the holiday, everybody's got an opinion.
Right.
And not just about what food should be served, but what individuals should eat and shouldn't eat. It's just amazing to me. I thought it was just my family for a lot of years, and now I see it's pervasive.
It is.
It is. And you have so many diets out there and so many different fads, and, you should eat this, you shouldn't eat this doesn't go with this. And, obviously with our kids, there's extreme medical, food sensitivities that they can't eat certain things, either it be, gluten or casein, which, obviously is the most common, but it's not just related to that. There's a lot of other foods and preservatives and things that our kids should not be eating because it negatively affects them. It not only negatively affects them physically, but also behaviorally. So there's a lot of different information that is out there, but it's not the correct information that a lot of families don't, family members don't have.
Absolutely. So let's start with, as a parent of a child who's on the autism spectrum, if we're going to sit down to a Thanksgiving dinner with other people, be family or friends, what expectations should we have as a parent about? Because the other thing that messes me up every Thanksgiving is that people want to eat at 2:30 or 3, and I always want to know, why are we doing that?
My husband's one of those people. It
Because
makes
then
me
you can
crazy.
eat again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He wants to have the main meal at 2, and I'm like, I'm not ready to eat dinner till at least 6, please.
And to say to our kids, I know for me, then I get my son up and I feed him breakfast and then I feed him lunch. So if we're gonna sit down and eat at lunch, and I have a choice. I can either starve him and not have him eat till 2:30, so he's hungry, which means I'm gonna get behavior.
Yeah.
Or I try to feed him at 2:30 and he's not interested.
Right.
What do you recommend, Vince?
A schedule.
I think
honestly, most family members, they know what types of situations, and you can't appease everyone. So the uncle and the aunt that wants to eat at 4 versus the brother or the sister that wants to eat at 2. I think that my suggestion is that as early as possible is give them a schedule of what the day or the night or both are going to entail. Appetizers at this time, snacks at this time, main meal at this time, almost similar to a restaurant, but so that they understand, what the layout's going to be, what they're going to be expecting, and how to expect it. This way, you guys can also field questions before we actually get to the event, right? There's nothing worse than getting a whole bunch of disgruntled people at the same time all together. What are we going to do, right?
Okay, so if we're making the dinner, we give everybody a schedule, including if we've got a kid on the spectrum, maybe we make a visual schedule and say, this is what the day, this is when we're going to eat on this day.
Yeah, right.
But also for the neurotypical relatives, so that's if we're cooking the dinner. If we're not cooking the dinner, then are you suggesting that we call whoever is cooking the dinner and say, I need a schedule?
I would find out. I mean, not necessarily that they would have to print out, and actually have a visual schedule for you, but I would call and find out the timelines because you are a guest with them, to find out what their timeline is for meals, snacks, and so forth. So then this way we can accommodate our expectations and our schedules for our kids, accordingly. So if, again, maybe it's a mid-afternoon, meal time, then we can give snacks, early breakfast and snacks to the kids so that we, prepare for that time. Or we can have the expectation that they're only going to eat a little bit and that we have to then prepare either leftovers or a meal for them afterwards. This way we can adjust and, anticipate what our personal needs are going to be for our kids prior to the event.
Now, a lot of us are invited out to Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinners, and there's always the delicate situation if your child is on a specific diet of having to deal with the fact that most of those invitations you receive are not people that cook GFCF, for example. And so you are oftentimes in the position of bringing in food for your child. Do you have any recommendations? Here's what I do, and you can tell me whether you think it's the right way to handle it or not. Sure. I make my own stuffing for Wyatt, gluten-free and dairy-free. I ask the cook what they're going to be serving, and then I bring my own dressing. I also bring a pumpkin pie that's gluten-free, dairy-free, that I have a great recipe for.
Oh, great.
Yeah, with coconut milk. And,
yes.
Yeah, and is that, can you just, it's not rude, is it? Can we just say, I've got to bring some special food for Wyatt, and I hope you don't mind if I bring along something?
No, not rude at all. I think the key is communicating, right? Communicating ahead of time, letting them know that, why it's special needs. And again, I think all parents would agree, you feel more comfortable if you're presenting or you're making the food for fear of cross-contamination or contamination, or maybe, someone else not understanding exactly what gluten means or what casein means, right? So, a lot of times we have to present our own food and bring our own food. But I think in efforts to be respectful to the hosts and to the chefs is to let them know, call them and say, my child has this dietary restriction, but I'm going to make, the stuffing or the pie. I wanted to let you know out of respect that it's nothing, nothing against the food, just he has these dietary restrictions, and I didn't want to burden you with having to worry about that.
Okay, great.
So we're going to go ahead and bring these. Is there anything else that I can, possibly help you with, or something like that?
Right.
So then this way the communication and everyone has the same expectations the day of the event.
And is it okay, I'm sorry, Shannon, I had one other question. Is it okay to just kind of address everybody there, because sometimes people don't realize that, for example, my son Wyatt is very sneaky. He'll go into the, the kitchen and he'll start, someone will say, oh, you want a bite of this? And he'll go, yes. And so is it okay to just kind of make an announcement to everybody there? Look, I'd really like your cooperation on this. It's not a big deal, but Wyatt's on a special diet, so please make sure he doesn't grab any food off your plate, or, if he goes over to the cheese platter, don't encourage him to eat it, or don't give it to him, and just kind of make that blanket announcement at the start of the event so people understand that you're really trying to, because what the results of what will happen is my son will start behaving badly when he has these foods in his system. So is it okay to just kind of make that announcement to everybody and say, we appreciate your working with us on this?
Yeah, the way I would present it is eliciting them for help. Right, I wanted to ask you guys to help in this, in these situations. Why, he's very curious about food. He loves food. However, there's a lot of different foods, medically he cannot eat because it will, it'll affect his, gastrointestinal system and thus lead to behaviors. Could I get you guys to help me with this? These are the foods that he cannot eat, X, Y, and Z, right? So then this way, everyone, is on a lookout, so to speak, so that if he tries to be sneaky and go goes up to grandma and grandpa and, and tries to grab the cheese, they're going to remember that they're they've agreed to help. They've agreed to, so to speak, police the food. So they can say, oh, no, wait, you don't get this. Here's what you can have, right? And give them the appropriate food. Again, making sure that there are foods that are available to him.
One of the things that I do, because you were talking about how you cope and that you bring certain things, when we go someplace for dinner, I always say to the guest, because I'm on GFCF too, because I'm allergic to milk and to wheat. It's not so much a gluten issue, I'm allergic to wheat. So I always say to the hostess, I'm going to be bringing food for us. Don't worry about us, but what can I bring to share with everybody else, right? And I always make sure that I bring something over the top, desserty, fabulous, so that people will be glad I came. It's like buying my entrance into the thing.
Right.
And then I always bring something that's incredibly healthy, that I can bring, that Jem and I can eat, that I can share with everybody else. That's a good GFCF thing, not some of the other things that aren't as tasty, right? And then on top of that, this is how over the top I am. I put that in a lovely serving dish, but I have a separate serving dish of that for he and I, because what's happened to me over the years so many times is that I bring a dish for everybody to share and they take a spoon from something else and stick it into the thing. So I bring a separate container for us. And I put I already make his plate ahead of time.
Oh, very smart.
So that all I have to do is pop the whole plate into the microwave. If there's something that's cold, I keep that separate. But otherwise, I pop the whole plate into the microwave as everybody else is loading up their plates, so that there's no cross-contamination.
So you even do your own turkey and everything?
Jem loves turkey legs anyway.
Wyatt loves turkey.
And so I cook a turkey for us at home if I'm going to go someplace, but I either buy or make myself just a pan of turkey legs, and I bring turkey legs for him because...
Very smart. I'm going to pick that one up.
Yeah, so that it's...
And they have those containers now that are compartmentalized that you can actually put them...
Now,
container would be very easy to serve.
Absolutely.
What do we do about the loving, well-meaning relative who says, well, they can have a little bit of that, a little cheese isn't going to hurt them. They can have that pecan pie. Don't deprive them. Now, that's real. What do you do with that family member, Vince?
Well, going back to it, if you notice the words that I was using earlier about when you're eliciting them for help, use the word medical. This is a medical issue. I think people respond better when they know this is a medical ailment or this is a medical necessity, that they can't have these things. People really respond to that. They're really sensitive to this because now it's not an opinion, right? It's not, well, this is a diet or something that, everyone can cheat on their diet, right? Everyone has a little bit of this or a little bit of that, as long as, the majority of this stuff stays in. But if we talk about this as a medical necessity, a medical issue, I think we get a lot more buy-in from everybody and they understand the importance of it much more.
My mother was so funny because when I was a kid growing up, I was allergic to milk, and we discovered that I was allergic to wheat. And my mother was so militant if we went someplace advocating for me and saying, do you understand she could go into anaphylactic shock? This is serious, And then I had a child, and my child went on the GFC diet, and my mother was in mourning. I don't know what the deal was with her, but she was in mourning about it. And she would occasionally try to slip him something, and he would say stop. And finally one day she said to me, well, I just don't understand. Is he ever going to get to have ice cream? He's a little boy. Is he ever going to get to have ice cream? And I said to her, Mom, here's the truth. He can have ice cream today. It's just that he won't be able to talk for probably a week to 2 weeks, and I'm not willing to trade that. Would you like to? Because that's how my child responds to dairy. He loses the ability to talk, to formulate his thoughts. And I said, would you like to choose that? And she went, is that the truth? And I said, that's the truth. Do you want to try it out? And then she settled down.
Yeah, it's interesting how if it's diabetes or, something even more, like maybe cancer or something like that, people are like, oh, fine, we'll accommodate. But somehow there's this gray area with autism that people don't believe. That it can affect your child, that diet can be such an important component. And, for me, it's gastrointestinal and behavioral with Wyatt. I mean, I'll never forget one day, at Sunday school, they made cookies and then put that icing and the thing all over it. Well, thank you. He was on the toilet all day, plus he was tantruming all day. So, I think when you tell them, I think medical necessity Vince, is a really good way to frame it.
Absolutely. And for the family member who won't listen, who won't take no, and when your child is having a behavior and maybe it's something that you've got on extinction or whatever, and they just want to get in and they're sidetracking your parenting on the day of, what advice do you have for us for dealing with that pain in the you-know-what family member? We all have them. We all do.
We all do, right? Well, and I think, and sometimes it's, depending on culture and hierarchy of the person who's intervening, it'd be grandma, it'd be grandpa, there's a respect of your elders and stuff that play into it. So a lot of the times, as we were mentioning earlier with the diet, I think it's important to talk about it before a behavior occurs, right? Preparing everybody for what's going on. Because I think when everybody's natural reactions kick in instead, sometimes people will do which is good-hearted and good intent, but it won't be an effective behavior strategy. Either it be pacifying the child or giving the child attention for negative attention-seeking behaviors, or what it may be. If your child is active or is going to have a high probability of going into a behavior, I think it's important to talk to the loved ones, especially those that like you were saying, we all have them. The ones that are going to be most interfering, to let them know ahead of, this is what the behavior plan is. This is what the professionals have set up that we follow at home. And then you go over, if he tantrums, this is what we do. And the reason why, right? I think the reason why is essential, because a lot of times if we just explain what a behavior technique is, people don't understand why we do it. So they're less likely to buy into it and actually follow through with it. But if they understand the reason why, the science behind it, then they're more likely to go ahead and follow it, especially if they were prepped ahead of time. But without that preparation or without that prior education, they're going to go with their natural instincts, which could be wrong.
And I don't know whether it was you that gave me this advice once before, Vince, or if it was somebody else, but I think it was you that talked about, for the person who won't listen, to elicit other people to be helpful, to engage in distraction of that person.
Right. To take the person away, to go talk
or to just, if I have to move my child away from the table and there's that elder statesman in the family who's sitting there saying, well, I don't understand why this is happening, for either my husband or somebody else to go, you haven't told me about your trip to Ireland yet, which distracts them as you deal with the child, and redirect
them to another part of the house or another part of the family. Absolutely. Yeah. Because you're going to have sisters, brothers, husbands, wives that can do that for you. They can give interference. They can create kind of a barrier in a very socially appropriate way, so that that person is no longer directly dealing with the behavior, and to listen to the science or listen to the behavior plans and feel that maybe they have a better intervention, or that even though you gave them all the education, they're still going to make their choice. I think using family interference is a great strategy.
Yeah, loved that advice.
And we've talked a lot about food, but let's also talk about the fact that a lot of family gatherings around the holidays, well, they're based around food, or they're based around socializing, drinking. These are things that our children don't do well with. So is it okay to come in armed with things? Well, what I do, because Wyatt loves to draw and paint and do things like that, is I have a portable art kit that I bring with me. I usually bring his iPad, and I have things that I know will keep him busy. Do you have any suggestions like that of things we can do activity-wise because our children will not necessarily appreciate standing around talking with everybody there while they're drinking and having hors d'oeuvres and doing things they can't do?
Right, and you don't know, if the other kids there, if they're going to have things that, their child's going to like, or if they're going to have, or want to interact with him in the games that he enjoys. Obviously there's a social opportunities for him to, or any of the kids to learn new things, new games, new sharing, and that's great. However, there's also an opportunity, there needs to be opportunities for the parents to relax and enjoy the family as well. So one of the things I always suggest to families is having an emergency play kit in the car all the time, not something just for holidays, all the time. Okay. So that it has a separate art kit, it has a separate game. Obviously iPads are a little bit different because not many people can afford extra iPads, but it's a lot easier to just grab that and go, knowing you have the suitcase in the car or the box in the car that's going to have use standard games, standard activities, standard things that the kids like that are automatically reinforcing will be immediate reinforcing. And if it's something that they don't get a lot of access to, they don't get it on a very regular basis, they actually look forward to it.
Right.
And that makes it more motivating for them.
It's interesting because we used to have one of those. It was a zipper bag that had a bunch of zippers on it. So it had a bunch of different adaptive things, but it was filled with toys. And we always took that into a restaurant while we were waiting for the food
I do
to
that.
come.
I do the drawing. We're lucky that Wyatt's artistic, and that will give him some. He's always ready to draw. The other thing that I found very helpful is sometimes to have a simple art project for all the kids that are there.
Oh, yeah.
Now you know what Wyatt loves to paint cartons. He loves the Starbucks containers. He loves the egg cartons.
Yeah.
I have found that children, no matter what the age, love to paint these egg cartons.
Great
I'll
idea.
bring a set of acrylic paints. I'll find out how many kids are going to be there. I'll bring the egg cartons. Some of them decorated them into caterpillars and animals. So I bring a project. One time we did painted rocks. And so I bring an art project for all the kids so he can get that social interaction, and they can.
What a great thing to do, because like I bring my chocolate pie, you bring an art project. Together, everybody should want to have us at their Thanksgiving dinner.
You should go to all the parties.
Vince, we're out of time, but we thank you so much always for your wonderful help. I know we have you coming back in December, and we're going to talk about some more strategies having to do with wrapping paper and playing and toys and those kinds of things.
That sounds great.
And siblings.
Give our best to your wonderful wife.
Thank you.
I'm going to be recruiting her to work on our next Act Today event, the Stars and Strikes, because she
looks forward to it.
Okay,
Every
good.
year she looks forward to it.
Well, she does an amazing job.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you,
ladies.
Vince.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy.
All right, and thanks for taking the challenge.
No problem. Anytime.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we've got so much to cover, and we haven't had enough time because we're busy talking about Autism Active Love, and that's a wonderful thing. Let's deal with one more letter.
Okay, I'd love to read this one, because I think it's important to know that we do work with children with other things besides ABA and iPads and speech and safety, that biomedical for some very real issues. And it was interesting, we were just talking about food and how it can affect our children. But this is a digestive problem that this child had, and we gave a grant. I'd like to sincerely thank you for our generous grant for our child from Act Today. It has truly been a roller coaster ride, and every day I wake up and pray that Kyle will continue progressing and maturing. It hasn't been easy, but we're blessed to have our little boy. And with your generous help, we continue fighting and look forward to tomorrow. Your grant has allowed us to continue treatment with the doctor who we could not afford without your assistance. My son has had ongoing digestion problems, and for the first time in 4 years, with the help of our doctor and your gift, he has had several normal stools. With your grant, we have also been able to purchase the necessary supplements, and Kyle has started saying words. His vocabulary is very limited, but he is now able to say hi, bye, and even count to 10. We are so very fortunate, and we want to express our gratitude from the bottom of our hearts. Sincerely, Kyle's mom. Talk about the simple things making me realize how lucky I am. This mom is through the roof grateful because he can say hi, bye, and count to 10. Okay.
And take a poo.
And take a poop.
Which is a very big deal.
Which is a very big deal. So we may get so caught up in our own issues that we forget there are always parents whose children are less fortunate, that need more help. Your participation in the Autism Acts of Love Challenge will help us bring awareness to our foundation and fund grants.
Okay. I want to take just a second here because we've had a couple of things written in. The person who wrote in before asking about the autism assessment, who has difficulty with expressing themselves, has written back in and said that they are in the Long Beach area, and has further said that they have issues speaking even with the use of assisted technology. And I want to let you know that we have a growing number of individuals who watch the show who have cerebral palsy. One of them, one of our favorite guests on the show, Mike Hipple, who uses assistive technology wrote in and said, this is for the person who has cerebral palsy, and wrote in earlier, I feel for you. I have been in your shoe not too long ago. I'm trying to get a job with the Appleton Area School District, and I'm hoping too, but it's going to be a question about the money. Keep hoping, and please talk to someone or email me. And he has given us his email address. So if you will write to me at s.penrod@autism-live.com. Again, that S as in Shannon, .penrod, Penrod, @autism-live.com. I will connect you with Mike, and you can have a conversation. Might be somebody, I know Mike has been so instrumental in helping a lot of young people be able to use their assistive technology in a way that's helpful to them, and maybe we can connect the two of you, and that might be helpful to you. But if you're in the Long Beach area, there are assessment centers in Long Beach, and there's a CARD assessment center here. You can also be assessed in the Long Beach area for CARD. So all right, we are going to take a short break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about maybe some in the news. I don't know. Do we even have time for a short break?
Do we need a break?
No,
I think
we
we
don't
can
have time.
keep going.
Let's keep going.
Okay,
I was
I
going
do
to show
wanna
some
read-
more challenges, but
Okay, I want to
we've seen
read
a bunch of
another
those.
letter.
Okay, read another letter.
These are just so great because we did just Kyle, but another for biomedical treatment. Dear Actor Day, I don't think I can thank you or express to you enough how much the grant has meant to my family. Addie was diagnosed with autism along with epilepsy, hypotonia, and mito dysfunction. There is no worse feeling than thinking there is no hope for your child to possibly recover, and not know if you will ever have access to the same treatments or possibilities.
I'm going to
as
stop
others.
you just because it looks weird to say that to know that there is hope, but this is the thing that I talk about all the time: knowing that there is hope for recovery, but not being able to afford it.
And not being able to afford it.
That to me is the seventh ring of hell.
This is what happened. Because of the financial demands that is placed on our family, we've had to choose or cut back on supplements. When we heard that we were going to be awarded from a grant from ACT, we were overjoyed. Addie could have the digestive enzymes we couldn't afford, the extra dose of CoQ10 we went without, and countless others. We were blessed. So thank you to all of you for helping us help our baby girl. She deserves a chance at a good life, and we will do whatever it takes. It was like prayers answered when we received the news. God bless, finally, an organization truly dedicated towards helping families with autism. You and all the sponsors, donor, etc., are our angels. Sincerely, Addie's mom. That one really, really gets to me.
Absolutely. And you know, I know when we were in the early days of autism and we were looking at getting our son tested for biomedical, I remember that I would sit at the computer and I would type in autism grant to see what would come up. And a bunch of things would come up that weren't what they said they were. It was, you know, we'll pay $35 to get this DVD to show you how to apply for a grant. I can't tell you, I did a couple of those, and it wasn't, I would get it, and it was for grants having to do with a whole bunch of things that had nothing to do with autism. And even those weren't real. And I kept looking for, isn't there somebody who's out there who's helping families? And at one point I found people who gave iPads, and at one point I found somebody who gave something else. But I really wondered if there was something out there that could help a wide range of things. And I found out about ACT today, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about because I think what you do is remarkable. I know what you do is remarkable, and there is nobody else out there doing what you do, which is amazing.
And I thank you for this Acts of Love Challenge, which is going to raise awareness because a lot of people don't know about us, let's face it. We work very well with some of the bigger organizations, Autism Speaks being, of course, the biggest. But if you really want, I'm not saying you can't give to other organizations, but if you really want to affect directly the children today, not research, not necessarily just awareness of what autism is, but helping kids today, ACT Today is the way to go.
Absolutely. And I always say that ACT Today is like the UN of autism. You know, there are different groups that have different methodologies and different ideas, and you know, this one doesn't want to step on this one's toes, and you know, they keep their distance and whatever, right? And I understand all that, but ACT Today is in the middle of all of that. You play well, you partner with everyone.
I mean, the other day I recommended Matt Asner to do a national TV spot. God.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, he was the right person to do it from
Yeah.
Autism Speaks. There's no reason for us not to work together, and we believe in that at ACT Today.
Absolutely, and you partner with other organizations to make things happen. I want to go over briefly some of the different programs that ACT Today has, because not only do you have ACT Today for military families that supports our military, active and retired military.
Right. We have ACT Espanol, which is designed for the Hispanic community because they're the fastest growing rates in autism. We have Safety Today, which gives safety supports, fencing, tracking devices. We have Biomedical Today and Medical Today, which helps children with medical issues. We have summer camps, which sends kids to summer camps with all different kinds of
And
things.
you have SOS?
Assisted technology, SOS, for some of our families literally in a life or death situation.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, the technology.
Right.
All these different things. And I just think it's remarkable. We want to let people know that there are 4 different times of year that people can apply for grants.
Yes.
And you always have people applying for grants. There's never enough money to fill it
can get to all the grants. We can never.
So this is why we're, especially this time of year, encouraging you. I mentioned at the top of the hour that you have a choice this time of year. You can participate in the bad feeling of feeling a lack, or you can participate in the season and be grateful and give what you have. It may be that you have the ability to share. It may be that you have the ability to take the challenge. It may be that you have the ability to give $1, $10. You might have the ability to give $100,000. I'm just going to hope and pray that there is somebody out there who has the ability to give that kind of money in this economic environment. But you can do all of that with Autism Act of Love and call out and say to the world, and I'm doing this in honor of someone in particular that you love on the spectrum. We're out of time, but I thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow we go back to our regular programming, but we're going to continue this and be talking about Autism Acts of Love. Don't forget that Dr. Jonathan Tarbox will be here tomorrow, as will Dr. Adele Nadowski. They will be answering your questions. I know we didn't get to as many questions this week as we dealt with this, so tune in tomorrow to see your questions answered. Thank you, Nancy, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Challenge. And until tomorrow, give your kiddos a hug from me and make them take the challenge.
And give yourselves a hug from me and make sure you take the challenge.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.